So listen, about a week ago, I was standing in front of the old state capitol in Springfield, Illinois, the place where Abraham Lincoln once stood to deliver a speech that said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." And I was joined by about 17,000 of my closest friends and about 500 of the media, and I announced that I was running for the presidency of the United States of America. And I have to tell you that it was a lot colder than it is here. It was about 12 degrees. And everybody was feeling frigid. But there was a warm spirit in the air, despite the cold outside. And we went on from there to Iowa, where there were about 2,500 people. And we went, go Hawkeyes, right? And then we went to Waterloo, Iowa. There were about 2,000 people. Then we went to Ames, Iowa. And there were 7,000 people there. And this was all a family affair. I was taking my wife, and I had my older daughter, Malia, who was 8, and my younger daughter, Sasha, who was 5, and my mother-in-law, and some of my daughter's cousins, and godparents to the kids. We were all in a big caravan, and we're driving from site to site. And my daughters, who usually don't accompany me on these things, they were having a great time. They were playing games and drawing and reading, and their older cousins were teaching them Game Boy, which I don't really understand, but they were into it. And so at one point I said to my 8-year-old, I said, "Listen, are you having fun, sweetie?" And she said, "Daddy, I'm having a great time, really enjoying it. This is so much fun." And she went back to start drawing, and then she looked back and she said, "Daddy, what are we doing here again?" What are we doing here? That is the theme of today. What are we all doing here together? Why are we here? You know, it'd be flattering and humbling to say that everybody is here just because of me, but that's not the case. No, the fact is that there's something happening in the country. There's a mood in the air. There's a sense that the way we've been doing business for the last couple of decades has to change. That we are at a crossroads in this nation's history. That we're at a crossroads internationally, and we're at a crossroads domestically. There's a sense that we have a government that is no longer responding to ordinary people. That it's become an insider's game. That it's all about slash and burn and negative politics and deal making, but that it is not expressing the basic values and ideals that we hold as Americans, and as a consequence, it's not solving the challenges that we face all across the country. We know what those challenges are. We've been talking about those challenges year after year. We all know that we spend more money on health care than every nation on earth. $1.9 trillion a year. And despite that, we've got 46 million people uninsured. Despite that, families who have health insurance are seeing their co-payments and deductibles and premiums going up. Despite that fact, we know that small businesses can't afford to provide health insurance to their employees, and that large businesses can no longer compete internationally because they're burdened with health care costs that their competitors are not. It's not as if we couldn't solve this problem. We know that if we provided preventive care, that a child could get treated for asthma instead of having to go to an emergency room, and that would save us money. We know that if there's a diabetic and we paid $150 for a caseworker to work with them to make sure they got treatments, that we wouldn't have to spend that $30,000 on an amputation. We know that if we ended up putting money into technology for eliminating bureaucracy and administration, we could save all that money and put it into providing health insurance for every single American. And so what's been lacking is not technical solutions. What's been lacking is the political will. We understand that we face an education crisis in this country, that our children are going to be competing in a global economy, and that they're going to need the skills of math and science. They're going to need to go to college and beyond. And yet, despite that knowledge, we end up having a situation in which there's no early childhood education for all the children who need it. We have teachers who are underpaid, students who are under-inspired, schools that have where the rats outnumber computers. And instead of making it easier for young people to go to college, Congress, in its infinite wisdom, last year actually made interest rates higher on college so that young people are burdened with more debt, and 200,000 students every single year don't go to college even though they're qualified because they can't afford it. We know what to do on that. We could put money into early education. We could put money to pay more teachers. We could create more flexibility in the classroom. We can ensure that every child who is qualified can go to college. There is no reason that we can't do that. What's missing is a sense of urgency.